They say every great tragedy begins with a dream. And sometimes, that dream doesn't just die, it explodes. In 2019, one man stood at the center of that explosion. He wasn't born rich. He wasn't a tech genius. He didn't invent a new app or a new machine. He simply sold space. Empty rooms, desks, chairs, and coffee. Yet somehow, he convinced the world he was selling the future. His name was Adam Neumann. And for nearly a decade, people believed he could change the way humanity works, lives, and even dreams. But what began as a revolution of hope became one of the most spectacular downfalls in business history. A $47 billion empire built not on brick or steel, but on pure illusion. Before you hear this unbelievable story of ambition, greed, and the dark side of the modern dream, pause for a moment. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because this isn't just the story of WeWork. It's the story of every dreamer who flies a little too close to the sun and forgets what gravity feels like. The year was 2010. New York City, a place that never sleeps because ambition never lets it. Every block smelled like possibility. Every stranger looked like they were running toward something, a dream, a paycheck, or both. Among them was Adam Neumann, a tall, charismatic immigrant with a wild mane of hair, often barefoot, and possessing an unshakable confidence. He had failed before, multiple times. Baby clothes with built-in knee pads, eco-friendly shoes, all disasters. But then, fate introduced him to Miguel McKelvey, an architect who dreamed of community-driven spaces. Together, they stumbled upon a simple yet dangerous idea. What if work wasn't just work? What if people belonged where they worked? It was the kind of idea that didn't just sell, it seduced. And that's how WeWork was born. The first WeWork opened on one floor of a Soho building. The walls were bright. The air smelled of ambition and fresh espresso. There was free beer, comfy beanbags, and posters that read, "Do what you love." It was new. It was cool. It was alive. Young entrepreneurs and freelancers walked in and felt something they'd never experienced before in an office, a sense of belonging. They weren't just renting a desk. They were joining a tribe. And in a lonely, hyper-connected world, that feeling was priceless. WeWork wasn't selling office space. It was selling meaning. It was saying, you matter. You're part of something bigger. And in a city full of broken dreams, that message was pure gold. Adam wasn't a CEO. He was a showman. He spoke like a scholar and moved like a performer. Barefoot, loud, and always smiling, he walked into every meeting as if he already owned the future. He famously said, "We're not here to make money. We're here to change the world." Investors ate it up. The media crowned him the Messiah of work. Employees followed him like disciples. He told them they weren't just building a company or a brand, but a movement. And he believed it. Or at least, he convinced everyone else to. In truth, WeWork was becoming something strange. A mix of a startup, a religion, and a piece of performance art. And at the center of it all was Adam, the man who sold dreams better than anyone alive. Inside a WeWork space, you could feel the rhythm of a new generation. The clatter of keyboards, the aroma of coffee, the undeniable glow of ambition. Everyone wanted to be there. The creators, the founders, the believers. It looked perfect. It felt unstoppable. But beneath the free coffee and the neon signs, WeWork was bleeding money. Company wasn't profitable, not even close. The illusion was already forming, and no one, not the media, not the investors, not even the employees, wanted to see it. Because when something feels that good, nobody asks if it's real. By 2015, WeWork wasn't just a company, it was an idea. Adam called it the We generation. He claimed that people would one day live, work, and play entirely within the WeWork universe. He launched WeLive, communal apartments, WeGrow, private schools. He even imagined a we world where the concept of me would disappear completely. To any normal investor, this sounded delusional. But in Silicon Valley, delusion was the new innovation. And Adam's charisma made madness look like magic. He announced, "Our mission is to elevate the world's consciousness." And people clapped, because deep down, everyone wanted to believe that a business could have a soul. Then came 2017, and with it, a billionaire named Masayoshi Son, the CEO of SoftBank. The man who backed Alibaba, the man who built empires. When Son met Adam, he saw something wild in his eyes, and he liked it. During a now famous car ride, Son reportedly told Adam, "You're not crazy enough." And in that one sentence, he unlocked a monster. SoftBank invested $4.4 billion into WeWork, the single largest investment in a startup at the time. For Adam, this was divine approval, validation of his myth, fuel for his fire. Within months, WeWork exploded. New buildings across continents, lavish parties, brand new jets, private schools, new ventures. It wasn't expansion anymore, it was mania. The company's valuation hit a staggering $47 billion. Investors called it the future of work. Employees called it a family. The media called Adam Neumann a visionary. But in reality, no one was watching the numbers anymore, because no one wanted to wake up from the dream. Inside those glass offices, something was changing. The energy that once felt inspiring was turning toxic. The culture blurred the line between work and worship. Late-night parties descended into chaos. Adam's speeches grew stranger, his decisions more erratic. He banned meat from company events for sustainability, then boarded his private jet, which was serving steak. He preached about mindfulness, but screamed at employees who disagreed with him. He told people he wanted to be the world's first trillionaire. The contradictions were everywhere, but no one dared to question him. Because at WeWork, Adam wasn't just the boss. He was the belief itself. Every empire has a heartbeat, but when ego starts pumping through its veins, that heartbeat becomes a countdown. Adam Neumann believed he was untouchable. Investors believed he could do no wrong. And the world believed WeWork was building the future. But they were all wrong, because the same light that made him shine was about to burn everything down. By 2018, WeWork wasn't just a company. It was a movement. From London to Tokyo, from San Francisco to Dubai, the world had bought into the illusion of community, purpose, and endless growth. Everywhere you looked, a new WeWork logo was glowing across glass towers, each one a temple to the god of ambition. Each one built on the belief that Adam Neumann had discovered a new truth about how humans were meant to live and work. But here's the thing about illusions. They don't vanish suddenly. They fade, quietly. Until one day, you realize you've been staring at smoke the entire time. With SoftBank's $4.4 billion investment, Adam felt invincible. He said WeWork wasn't just a company, it was the world's largest physical social network. To him, it was the Facebook of real life. Every week, new offices opened across continents. They were spending money faster than they could count it. One executive would later admit, if Adam wanted it, it was bought. He once purchased a private jet worth $60 million. He invested in wave pools, coffee companies, and even a school, WeGrow, run by his wife, Rebecca. Everything was we. It was no longer WeWork, it was WeWorld. But beneath the neon signs and free beer taps, cracks were already forming. The company was bleeding money, billions lost every year. WeWork's financials were a time bomb waiting to explode. Still, Adam wasn't worried, because the illusion was too beautiful to question. Inside WeWork, Adam wasn't just a CEO, he was the culture. Employees worshipped him. Meetings felt like sermons. He spoke in parables, not about profit, but about destiny, consciousness, and energy. He told staff they were changing the world, not just renting offices. And people believed it. They stayed late, worked weekends, partied till dawn, all for the cause. There's a story of one employee saying, "When Adam spoke, you felt like you were part of something cosmic." But behind the charisma was chaos. Decisions were impulsive, unpredictable, and often reckless. He'd make billion-dollar choices after a glass of tequila. He'd fire people on a whim, sometimes while drunk, and then tell the remaining ones to thank the universe for the opportunity to stay. This wasn't a company anymore. It was a cult, powered by ambition and fear. Investors, blinded by hype, called WeWork the future of work. Valuations skyrocketed. 10 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion. Then finally, a staggering $47 billion. The world had seen unicorns before, but this one had wings made of gold and a smile that could sell anything. But here's the truth. WeWork's business model was simple and dangerously fragile. They signed long-term leases for entire buildings, renovated them into cool offices, and rented them out on short-term contracts to startups and freelancers. It looked like explosive growth, but it was financial quicksand. The moment the market slowed down, those long-term lease payments would remain, while the short-term clients would vanish overnight. It was like balancing an empire on a house of cards. And yet, the illusion held, because Adam could make people believe anything. As the empire grew, so did Adam's ego. He lived like royalty, private jets, mansions, and even a $21 million property in California with its own wave pool. He called himself a global citizen. He preached about saving the planet, while burning through investor money faster than any founder in history. He partied with celebrities, hosted extravagant retreats for his employees, and made grand speeches about love, energy, and purpose. He once said, "We're here to elevate the world's consciousness." But as WeWork expanded, it wasn't consciousness that was rising, it was delusion. Behind the glamour, the numbers told a terrifying story. In 2018, WeWork made $1.8 billion in revenue, but lost $1.9 billion. They were losing more money than they were earning, and somehow, investors were cheering louder than ever. Because in the world of startup illusions, profit didn't matter, only growth did. And Adam Neumann had growth in abundance. Every empire built on hype eventually reaches a moment when reality starts knocking at the door. For WeWork, that knock came from within. Employees began noticing strange things: the lavish spending, the endless parties, the impulsive decisions. Some started whispering, "Are we actually a business? Or just a fantasy?" But those who questioned Adam didn't last long. He surrounded himself with loyalists, people who believed that questioning him was disloyalty to the mission. One former executive said, "We stopped being a company. We became an echo chamber." And echo chambers are dangerous, because the louder they get, the less truth you hear. By 2019, WeWork was ready for its biggest leap yet, going public. Adam believed this was his moment, the final proof that his dream was real. The IPO would allow WeWork to sell shares to the public and raise billions more. He walked into the process with absolute confidence. But the moment the IPO prospectus, the official company document, was released, the illusion shattered. Because for the first time, the world saw behind the curtain. The numbers were catastrophic. Billions in losses, confusing corporate structures, huge personal loans given to Adam himself, and worst of all, a level of self-dealing that screamed greed. The document revealed that Adam had trademarked the word "we" and then sold it back to his own company for $5.9 million. The media exploded. Analysts called it the most disastrous IPO filing in history. Investors panicked. Employees were shocked. WeWork wasn't a spiritual revolution. It was a financial illusion wrapped in beautiful words. Within days, the IPO that was supposed to make Adam Neumann a legend turned him into a symbol of excess. The press tore him apart. Headlines called WeWork a ticking time bomb. Late-night hosts mocked him as the man who sold air. Behind closed doors, investors turned cold. SoftBank, once his biggest supporter, began demanding answers. The dream was collapsing. Inside WeWork offices, fear replaced euphoria. The parties stopped, the slogans faded, and Adam, once worshipped like a god, became the villain of his own story. He fought to keep control. He fired thousands of employees. He promised a comeback, but it was too late. The illusion had burst. It's strange, isn't it? How easily we fall in love with stories, especially stories that make us feel part of something greater. Adam wasn't just selling office space. He was selling belonging, purpose, hope. But in chasing that illusion, he forgot the one truth every empire builder must remember. When your dream becomes about yourself, it stops being a dream and starts becoming a delusion. By late 2019, the IPO was officially dead. WeWork's valuation crashed from $47 billion to just $8 billion, almost overnight. Investors revolted, board members turned against Adam, and finally, under immense pressure, Adam Neumann was forced to resign as CEO. He walked away with a $1.7 billion exit package, while thousands of employees lost their jobs. WeWork, once hailed as the future of work, was now the poster child for failure. The illusion was gone. The god had fallen. And the empire built on dreams was now rubble. But in every fall, there's a truth, a lesson that echoes beyond the headlines. Because sometimes, the most dangerous illusion is the one that tells you you're invincible. Silence, then the faint echo of empty hallways, chairs creaking, the buzz of fluorescent lights flickering on in an abandoned office. There was a time when these rooms were filled with life, laughter, energy, hope. People believed they were part of something revolutionary. But now, all that remains are echoes of ambition, of illusion, of a $47 billion dream that went up in smoke. This is how WeWork fell, and how greed, dressed as vision, destroyed everything. It was supposed to be the moment that would define them forever. The grand IPO, the event that would take WeWork public and turn Adam Neumann into one of the richest men in the world. Investors waited. The media was hyped. Employees dreamed of their shares finally meaning something. But then, the numbers came out. The documents revealed the truth, and it was horrifying. WeWork was losing money faster than any startup in modern history. Billions burned every year. Renting long-term, subletting short-term. A business model that collapsed the moment reality hit. Behind the slogans of community and togetherness, there was chaos. And a man who thought he was a messiah. The world saw through the illusion. The same Adam Neumann who once promised to elevate the world's consciousness was caught taking hundreds of millions for himself, even selling the name "we" back to his own company for $5.9 million. The dream had turned into a global joke. The headlines were brutal. The cult of WeWork's $47 billion mirage. From unicorn to disaster, SoftBank panicked. Investors fled. And in a single week, WeWork's valuation dropped from $47 billion to just $8 billion. That's not just a fall, that's a free fall from the clouds into the concrete. When the IPO failed, the company's boardroom turned into a battlefield. SoftBank, once WeWork's biggest cheerleader, now demanded control. The same people who called Adam a visionary began calling him a liability. And soon, Adam Neumann, the barefoot billionaire who once shouted, "We are changing the world," was forced to resign from his own company. But here's the twist. He walked away with $1.7 billion. Yes, the man who crashed his own empire left as a billionaire, while thousands of employees were left jobless, unpaid, and betrayed. The same people who clapped for him at town halls now packed their belongings into cardboard boxes and walked out of buildings that no longer belonged to them. Dreams were crushed. Futures were rewritten. And yet, the man behind it all left richer than ever. After Adam left, WeWork tried to survive. They brought in new leadership. They rebranded. They promised to be smarter, more transparent, more grounded. But the world had already seen the truth. You see, WeWork was never about offices. It was about identity. It was about making people feel like they were part of something bigger, even when that something didn't exist. And that's the scariest part. Because WeWork wasn't an isolated case. It was a reflection of a modern disease, a world obsessed with hype over honesty, image over integrity, illusion over impact. We live in an age where charisma can raise billions and reality gets ignored, where dreams are sold like products, and where greed hides behind the language of purpose. Adam Neumann didn't just fail a company, he exposed a culture, ours. By 2020, WeWork was barely hanging on. SoftBank kept injecting money to keep it alive, hoping it could somehow recover. But then came the pandemic, and with it, a brutal truth. No one needed shared offices anymore. Empty spaces, empty promises, empty slogans. The company that once symbolized the future of work now represented everything wrong with modern entrepreneurship. In 2023, WeWork filed for bankruptcy. A $47 billion dream. Gone. A vision that was once worshipped by investors, media, and millions of young dreamers, reduced to dust. But maybe that's where the real story begins. Because here's the thing. Adam Neumann wasn't just greedy. He was human. And in him, we see a reflection of ourselves. Every one of us wants success. Every one of us wants recognition, validation, power, money, fame. And in chasing that, we sometimes forget the difference between purpose and ego. WeWork didn't collapse because of real estate. It collapsed because of illusion. The illusion that belief alone can replace reality. The illusion that charisma can replace competence. And the illusion that greed can be disguised as greatness. We all fall into that trap at some point. In business, in relationships, in life. We convince ourselves that our dream just needs more time, more money, more faith, when maybe it just needs more truth. Wind blowing through empty corridors, faint echoes of laughter from the past. Imagine walking through a deserted WeWork space today. The chairs are gone. The whiteboards are blank. The walls still say things like "hustle harder" and "do what you love." But those words now feel haunting, like ghosts of a time when people believed in something that never really existed. And yet, in the silence, there's something strangely beautiful. Because failure, when you strip away the shame, leaves behind clarity. The clarity to see what matters. The clarity to rebuild. The clarity to understand that success is not what you show, it's what you sustain. Adam Neumann once said, "We are not just building offices, we are building a movement." And in a way, he was right. But it was a movement built on illusion, not integrity, on image, not impact, on greed, not growth. And when greed leads, truth always follows, and it always collects its debt. So as we end this story, remember this: you don't need billions to be successful. You need balance, you don't need hype, you need honesty. And if you ever build something, build it on truth, because truth is the only foundation that never collapses. A heartbeat. Slow, steady, calm. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this truth, and subscribe, because next time we'll go even deeper into the dark side of success, power, and human ambition. Until then, this was the story of WeWork, the $47 billion empire destroyed by one thing the world keeps mistaking for success: greed.